Call the Westfield Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order for February 27th, 2019. Will the staff please note the presence of quorum?
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving along, action item number 1, the minutes of January 23rd, 2019. Having had opportunity to read those minutes, are there any additions, corrections, or comments? Then I will make a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item number 1 carries. On to action item number 2, 3231 Totem Design Engineering Proposal.
Yes, so Signworks, Indianapolis Signworks, which is the company that designed our totem at 146 and 31, have put together a proposal to do a design for the 31 and 32 gateway monuments, if you will, that is in similar character to what we have at 31 and then 146. The cost of that proposal, this is just design, schematic design concept through, so we'll pick what we want potentially someday, and I don't know, construction timeline or anything like that. And then engineered drawings for those as well. So we'll be essentially shelf ready if ever we want to pull the trigger and have the finances to build it. The cost that they're proposing is $38,000 to schematic design, design development, and construction documentation of those, whatever they are, towers or whatever they're going to be.
Yeah, so Jeremy, tell me a little bit about what direction we've given them in terms of, we haven't just said, go figure something out, right? We've said,
Correct.
do something similar to the totem, but in smaller form, or what direction have we given them?
It would certainly not be smaller form. It would likely be larger. And keeping in mind that it's elevated and it's the foundation basis. What we don't want is if we put that 40-foot tall totem right there, it would be a pencil sticking up in the air. What we don't want is that. So that's what this schematic design process is going to be. So when NDOT built 31, they put, this is a foundation for what was that rendering of the torches. So this was constructed with the 31 project. So what we are pretty well handicapped in that we need to design
One
to
on either
that
side, so what you're
foundation.
showing is one on either
So
side of the highway,
There will be
right?
one there facing 32 this way and one here facing 32 this way. And then we have not yet figured out how this kind of interacts with 31 and whether or not there's a visual on 31 as well. So we have, that's one of
And
the
it would
things
be
that-
raised, so I didn't understand what you were saying about it being raised.
It will be vertical like the totem, if
Right,
you will.
yeah.
But from a scale perspective, these are likely going to be wider. I don't know how tall, maybe even taller than that 40 feet. But the base of that totem down there, if we were just to move it over here, would be too narrow, and we would lose it with the scale of the bridge.
It would not look right with the foundations.
So when you're coming through here, it's flush mounted. You don't really have a scale of an object. When you're coming up to State Road 32, you have this massive bridge. So you have to scale those signs according to the fixtures, essentially. So that's what what we would be paying them for, is figuring out, okay, what looks good. We'll be through the selection process. Really, the direction that we've given them is a price point for construction, what we think our budget's going to be. We know the footprint of the foundation, so we know we're pretty well tied into that. And then we want it to have a similar character to what we've already put in, which is what
Right.
we hope to kind of brand the city, spread it out throughout.
And you had mentioned, I'm sure there's a timeline on the design part, but there's no
There is.
timeline on the
No.
budget
there's-
and installation or anything
Right,
like that.
there's no timeline
And
for
then
construction.
walk me through, once we get the designs back,
Mm-hmm.
what is the process in terms of, as you said, picking and choosing, I think is what you said.
Oh, selecting the product?
Right.
So Vicky and her team will be involved. Obviously, we will be involved as well, and the mayor, and whatever we do, I don't know exactly what.
So does it come back here? That's my question.
The design?
The design
It
or
can, sure.
or the budget for it, or any of those pieces?
Yes, so the budget would be a contract that you would have to, so the cost of construction would be a contract you would have to approve, just like anything else. Ultimately, as you know, council would approve what we do and the cost of it.
Right.
So,
Okay. That answers my questions, thank
Okay.
you. Sorry, I was monopolizing.
I can tell you that our proposed budget is much less than the original torch concept.
That's good information to have, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Sorry, did you have any questions?
No, I think I'm clear. All right. So I would make a motion to approve action item number 2, 3231 totem design engineering proposal at $38,000.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve action item number 2. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 3, City of Westfield and Wheeler Landing 1 LLC.
Yeah, this is an MOU, so it's, I guess, typically what you would see is a development agreement that is gonna ultimately go to council. This developer wanted an MOU in place so that they could start selling the commitments that the city has made, or the partnership that the city has made, to potential tenants and users while we are working through the development agreement and getting it through the council process. So if you are looking geographically, Wheeler Landing PUD is everything that you see here at 32 and Wheeler Road. So it is all these parcels where the YMCA is going to go, and the natatorium, this piece, and this 40 acres up here. What we're proposing, and it's essentially, it's already been since an MOU doesn't have any legal authority, it's already been approved by Todd Bertrand. He's already signed it, it's been executed. We wanted to bring it to here, to you all, to make you aware and sort of ratify it by voice vote, I guess you would. So the agreement that we've got with or preliminary agreement, I guess, with the Wheelers is in exchange for road impact fee and TIF dollars, they are going to construct what will be Grand Park Boulevard, so Oak Ridge Road north, all the way up through here to tie into Grand Park Boulevard. This section of Grand Park will be renamed and tie in here, so you create a T intersection here. What is currently being called the YMCA Road from here over, and then the extension of Tournament Trail. In that same agreement, structured a little bit differently, would be the improvement of State Road 32 in Wheeler and an installation of a signal at this location. So this will be signalized Tournament Trail going across. I guess the meat of the agreement is about $7.3 million. The developer is paying that out of pocket and only being reimbursed when they create either TIF generating development or impact fee created by development. So it's incentivizing the developer to truly go out and sell some property and do some things. They're not getting repaid until they do. And then we are effectively not out of pocket anything so it's structured that we pay them back as quickly as possible. So everything that throws off from there goes back into there to reimburse them. When that's over and done, which we think will be in the next 3 to 5 years, then everything comes back to the city. So it's a pretty good deal for both parties.
Sounds like it. Can you go to the 32 and Tournament Trail? Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm asking questions again. That doesn't seem to be a lot of distance between the two stoplights.
It does not.
Okay, so are there general best practices or are there rules regarding?
The spacing, we can't change the spacing. What
Right.
we can do is coordinate the signals.
Okay,
So they'll work in unison. So that way when this one turns green, this turns green, and it kind of dumps everything at one time. And then this will change and that'll change and it'll stage up.
Kind of like Greyhound Pass.
Similar to Greyhound Pass.
And with the additional lanes at 32 and Wheeler that, to help dump the
Yes.
traffic.
So there'll be a dedicated left turn lane, which this will be, you can turn right on red, so that'll give some more movement that way. Actually, I think there are, don't quote me on this, but I think there is 2 lefts, a straight, and a right turn lane.
I
Okay.
believe that's the way that I've seen it drawn.
Yes. And then obviously that'll reconstruct back here. There'll be a signal that is appropriate back on this end.
Well, I think it's needed. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a crazy
Yeah, it's needed to.
spot for sure, but just
Right.
the distance between the
So,
two.
and the way we structured the deal, I told you this was a little structured a little differently, is that we are coming out of pocket for half of that. So half of the cost is ours. They are building the other half as a part of their development. So they're gonna pay for building the whole thing, we'll manage construction. They are only getting reimbursed for half of it. Does that make sense?
Will that stay a two-lane road?
Wheeler, for the time being, yes. As you can see, the right-of-way, how the right-of-way dives in right here.
Will they at least put a left-hand turn?
Where at?
Or where we have the problem is,
There will be a left turn lane right here with that improvement. Obviously, that's right, but eventually this will be a 3-lane road.
right,
When our thought is, once we have this opened up and free-flowing, essentially straight to Grant Park, it'll divert a ton of that traffic. And this is a 3-lane road from day one, so it'll be a one-way each direction with dedicated turn lane.
Why a controlled signal instead of a roundabout?
There's not enough room.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, there's not enough room, so if you remember, we got Monon
Trail and
Bridge.
everything there's.
Monon Bridge flying over through there.
Yeah, so where does it land, roughly? Where does the bridge?
The bridge
Hit
lands,
grade.
it's about right here, well, by the time it gets back to grade.
Further than I thought. So so Tournament Trail will go underneath the bridge?
Yeah, so the bridge flies, so you're crossing the tournament trail at the 18 or 19 feet. I
Okay.
don't remember what it is. And then
That's-
you'll start your descent right there, and obviously there's ADA requirements.
It actually lands much further
Yeah, it
north
lands-
than what I had remembered.
Well, we intentionally purchased this right away, so when we
Uh-huh.
were coming through, the cost of land here is significant. So we decided to only purchase what we needed. Eventually, this trail, once this all redevelops and we essentially extract the right of way, this trail will move back out, so we'll have the width necessary to widen this road. So this will
That'll
shift
be
back
a
up here.
condition of the development that they
Oh, yeah.
put the trail
Yeah.
through there
Yeah.
when it comes through the planning commission.
We tried pretty diligently to get it all negotiated with the understanding, dedicated with the understanding that they know that they're going to have to
Yeah.
donate it. $1 million seemed like too much money for them to just give away, so
Right.
we had to buy it.
What is the intersection in it? This is my last question, sorry. I know at Wheeler and 186, what does it look like?
Wheeler and 186 right here. What does it look like
Yeah.
long term?
Yes.
That's another one of those. It's always been contemplated as a roundabout.
No, I'm sorry. I'm south of there.
181.
181, thank you,
Okay.
Chief, sorry. 181, I meant.
That is also going to be a roundabout.
It is,
So you'll
okay.
have a roundabout here, roundabout there. The only thing, we've submitted this for federal funds twice now, 2 years in a row, still haven't gotten any
Got
funding
it.
for it.
Okay.
So
Thank
it's
you.
likely gonna be locally funded, driven by development adjacent properties. We know this one's not gonna
And the
throw off
plans will
anything.
be for those properties, the roundabout will have space.
Yes. So we've already
it kind
accounted
of
for
helps
it.
us out right now until they get that 32 and Wheeler.
Yes,
So
it
it's
does.
not both,
It-
yeah.
Yeah.
It
it-
slows the traffic
Yeah,
down a little bit.
yeah, it's kind of controls traffic a little bit. So, yes, when this redevelops, we'll have, that's why we shifted the trail back over here,
right.
because we've already got conceptual plans of where that roundabout's gonna be.
Okay.
I can actually probably turn the layer on.
And a lot of that happens when the developments come through for approval, that all happens prior to coming forward. It's been worked out
Yeah.
with these guys
Yeah.
ahead of time,
Yeah.
that they dedicated and needed right away, and they do any of those things that saves us money. Sorry, I'll stop talking now.
No, I'm the one asking all the questions today.
Play commission's my thing,
Like,
so.
Yeah, you've been on it a long time.
So for a memorandum of understanding, what do we need to do? Do we need to, we don't vote? It's not a voting item?
I think we move to approve it with a verbal vote to quantify what Todd has put forward.
Okay.
So, is that correct?
That's the way I understood it, yeah.
Okay. Make a motion to approve memorandum of understanding, action item number 3.
Okay, I will second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve action item number 3, City of Westfield Wheeler Landing LLC. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to contracts and agreements, action item number 4, Westgate Draft Park Impact Fee Credit Agreement.
So a parking impact fee credit agreement is not dissimilar to road impact fee. We haven't had one in quite a while just because there's not a lot of creditable things. In this case, so the Westgate PUD, which was approved like 2006-ish, so it was zoned a long time ago. It is located between, so this is 166th Street, this is Town Road, Little Eagle Creek, so we're way out west, and this is Eagletown Road. It is essentially these parcels. School owns this piece. It's all these parcels. So that's that, and then the other side of the road too. This is all the development that is Westgate. The park impact fee credit is for the Midland Trail. So we know the Midland Trail corridor is right up here. But we know that we don't really know what's going to happen here. So we have just submitted for state funding the gaps in the Midland Trail from 31 over to here. We are trying to plan on how that interacts with this development and gets across the creek, which is the most expensive piece. So when we were looking at that, here's the rendering of the development. We noticed or looked at the opportunity to put this as the Midland Trail, right, essentially on the north side of their development through some green space. So we are proposing that we credit the cost of construction of the trail. So they'll make it a 12-foot named trail. It'll be dedicated right of way, public access, to construct this trail from here all the way through their development. There is no costs in this agreement because it's preliminary. We don't know what that cost is going to be. We will ultimately always have say-so on what the real cost is or what we approve.
Who's the developer?
It's a combination of Lennar and Pulte. Yeah. So you'll notice that the agreement itself is with both parties. Find it here. So yeah, it's essentially Cal Atlantic or Lennar Homes and Pulte Homes. Of all these things, number 5, developer shall receive park impact fee credits in the amount equal to the cost of constructing the trail. We have determination on what those costs are. So it's a little different than what we're accustomed to, but hopefully before we know it, we'll have the Midland Trail connected all the way out there. So.
Depending on what happens in the middle. That'll be it.
The thing that's up in the air is the Ackerson piece. When it goes, I'm not sure. We intentionally brought the trail down at the school at Maple Glen Elementary, in order to give the school some more access. And then essentially what Ackerson will have to do is connect it on both ends. So they'll have to figure out how to interact with their development.
Or whoever ends up developing that.
Yeah,
someday.
yeah, whoever it is.
Make a motion to approve action item number 4, Westgate Draft Park Impact Fee Credit Agreement.
I'll second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve action item number 4. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to action item number 5. Grand Junction Plaza Design Modification and Update.
This is a proposal from Land Collective and Team to, so it's been a couple years since our design was finished, approved, and all that good stuff. In that time frame, we permitted and constructed the stream through Grand Junction. With that, our DNR permit changed the confluence where those two streams come together a little bit, so they widened it out. So it changed this and how the playground area and the plaza area will interact with the waterway. So as such, we have some redesign efforts. The cost that they're proposing is $169,000. That is for the redesign of this to make sure that everything works. And then additionally, probably the larger piece of it is originally contemplated the mechanicals for the buildings would be on the roof. of the buildings. So we are proposing, knowing that, or at least since then, there's been proposals to have some taller buildings to the north. We don't want people looking down on our air conditioning units,
Right.
so we're gonna have them design and move those mechanicals into our support buildings. So there's civil work and to make sure everything interacts, mechanical work. So, but anyway, the cost is $169,000. That'll take us from hopefully funding approval to finished drawings and then ultimately bid and build later this year. So building plan, building code updates or review, mechanical moving, so moving the mechanical MEP systems or HVAC, and then redesign of the area in this confluence to ensure that our plaza and our playground area, where really the building footprints will function appropriately with the new permit, because it took us 2 years to get the permit, so we obviously don't want to try to modify that. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve action item number 5, Grand Junction Plaza design, modification, and update.
I will second that. Motion's been made and seconded to approve action item number 5. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 6, WSP USA Inc. Agreement Amendment number 1.
And you now know why I bring friends to these meetings, so that you don't have to listen to me talk the entire time.
My God.
I know it's exhausting. So, WSP amendment. This is obviously it's amendment to a service contract. WSP is doing land acquisition for us at the 161st and Spring Mill intersection for a roundabout that we are designing there.
Which,
So this is Kroger.
Yeah.
This is the.
no,
what
I know
will
where
be
we
there.
are.
Yeah, so right here's the proposed, it's where we're designing a roundabout there. When
Right.
we were coming through with utility conflicts and things, the roundabout had to shift a little bit to the northwest. As such, there were 3 pieces of ground that we are potentially going to have to require or acquire. We think that there's only 2 that we really are, because this is a part of a development that has been zoned, depending on when these things will get the right of way we need. So it's a supplemental for $29,675 to acquire 3 parcels along at the intersection here. And it is set up as a unit cost, so if it goes down to 2, obviously that drops by $9,800 some dollars, so.
Questions? Comments? Okay. All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve action item number 6, WSP USA Inc. Agreement Amendment number 1.
Second?
A motion made and seconded to approve action item number 6. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 7, joint use maintenance agreement, State Road 32 and Oak Ridge Road.
Okay, so our 32 overlay requirements require this greenway. You'll see it having been constructed down here at McDonald's and Rickers. So it's this 8-foot trail that runs parallel to the 32 sidewalk. It is required along the 32 corridor as a part of that overlay district. Just like we did in those down there, NDOT requires us to put in place a maintenance and access agreement to allow our trail to connect to the road to be able to cross. So effectively, a portion of our greenway trail that we own is going to be an NDOT right-of-way. This agreement is that we will concur that NDOT is not held accountable for maintenance or repair of our piece of trail. So that's the gist of it. We don't have a choice, quite honestly. If we want to build our trail and it connect across north of 32 or vice versa, then we have to have this maintenance agreement in place.
Standard, right?
Standard, we've done it in the 2 other locations, and we'll probably have to do it another dozen times by the time it's all built out.
Make a motion to approve action item number 7, joint use maintenance agreement 32 in Oak Ridge.
I will second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item number 7 carries. On to action item number 8, card no mitigation monitoring supplemental Grand Junction Plaza.
Okay. Back to Grand Junction Plaza. When we, so when you impact a floodway, you have to mitigate the trees. When we built Mill Street in this regional detention and so the basin, the levee, all those things, we had roughly DNR required us to mitigate 5.14 acres. Our consultant designed and I guess we constructed about 1.5 acres less than what we were supposed to. We did that out on the Raymond Worth Park property, which is, I can go out there if you want. DNR did their due diligence, found that out, and now we have to mitigate that extra 1.5 acres. We are again going to do it out there. So Cardno is proposing $43,000. Cardno was not our consultant, they were our contractor, to construct this extra 1.5 acre mitigation out on Raymond Worth.
So why can't we go back to the original?
We are going back to the consultant. The consultant is doing all the design for the additional pro bono. So they are standing behind their error and they're gonna do this
Thank you.
design and permitting for free, but we still have to pay for the trees, is
Okay.
basically what it boils
Okay.
down to.
Which
So
we would have had to
We would have
anyway.
had to pay for this 43,000 anyway, we're just doing it now.
So did it come in under before? Did it come in a?
Well, it
fifth?
was designed and bid at the smaller amount, so it's hard to say. I don't remember if the contract came in
I got it.
below or not, but.
Okay,
And so this is planting of the trees and monitoring for 5 years. So for $43,000 for 1.5 acres of trees, so.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve action item number 8, card no mitigation monitoring supplemental Grand Junction Plaza.
second?
Have a motion made and seconded to approve action item number 8. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do you any, well, normally the consent agenda, I normally just call for a vote, but I know sometimes there's explanation, and I think maybe the chief may want to say a few things.
Yeah, I can,
Okay.
absolutely. For the first one, the approval to hire 2 of our applicants, which still is the 18 hiring process. We'll use that for as long as we can. These 2 individuals, one's Lisa Moore, the other one's Joshua Hadley. They're both IU students currently. On January 31, we gave Josh a conditional offer, and on February 1st, we gave Lisa a conditional offer. They're both IU, they'll graduate in May. They've had the academy already, and they're already sworn police officers there at IU. Their anticipated hire date would be somewhere around June 3rd. Both good. We don't have to send them to the academy, which is a plus. But they're both excited and gonna finish school and knowing that they have a job when they're done. It's pretty cool things.
Yeah.
That's those 2. Approval to promote is actually, position was created when we moved Rob Dine into a detective position from being the sergeant on the street. That was a vacated position that was held by Brody Houston. We moved Brody as our accreditation manager, taking Mike Allen's spot when he leaves. So Brody's now training under Mike, learning that role. Rob is the new detective, which he's been for about 4 or 5 days so far. So that created a sergeant opening on one of our shifts. We went back to our eligibility list, which was created last year and is good till June. The next one on the list was Officer Jeff Swakowski. And I have no problem with promoting Jeff to sergeant, and that's what I was trying to get approval for today.
Sounds like a good choice to me.
Agreed.
Then the next one is, Jeff is, you know, is a K-9 officer right now. It was actually good timing, because Lopez, his partner, is 11 years old, and we were going to retire Lopez this year anyway. He's in really good health, but it is that time. Jeff, we talked through it, and we think it's best for Jeff's career to just give him sole responsibility of being a sergeant and not being a K-9 sergeant. That way he can worry about the people that he's leading rather than the dog. But that brings up the issue with the transferring the ownership from the department to Jeff. Lopez is a tracking bite dog, so he's really best staying with his partner. So instead of just, you know, going to somebody else's family, the family already, he's already good with that family, and the kennel and everything's there for him already and everything. So what that does is it prevents us to be liable for the dog, and everything goes to Jeff. And, all the expenses go to Jeff, and we're basically giving him the dog. And that's what this letter does.
As it should be. In my opinion.
I agree with you.
Okay. So anything else on that? All right, make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
So moved.
I will second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Since you're already talking, Chief, why don't you go ahead and we'll let you keep rolling, and then we'll do fire if that's okay.
Okay, I don't have a whole heck of a lot. I don't have much of anything really. We got a lot of things going on. This year's going to be a challenge, as you see that we have given 2 conditionals. We have Marcus Harris, who's just started this week. He was our first hire of this year. We have Morgan Burns, who's starting next week. Those were already approved from the last meeting. This is 4 people, Lisa and Josh. And unfortunately, you know, we lost John Lowe's in January to Hamilton County. He's their number 2 now. And then Jeremy Meyer went to Carmel in January. So that left 2 spots open. And really Marcus and Morgan filled those 2 positions. So now we're just kind of, once next week hits, we'll be back to where we used to be. So now we're losing Mike Allen, Bob Mitchell, and Kim Daniels to retirement this year, so that puts us down 3. So it's going to be a challenging year. We're at 51 officers to date. By next week we'll be at 52. The city's agreed to hire 3 additional this year, half the year. So they'll be kind of put in, spread out through the year. And that, by the end of the year, we'll be at 55. But, you know, losing what will be 5 people this year and then adding 3 new, it's going to be just constant change this year. And we're kind of behind the 8 ball with our manpower. So that's a big challenge for us this year, but we'll get through it. We once again, excuse me, we once again completed our yearbooks. And I was trying really, really hard to get them out today, but it looks like it's probably going to be towards the end of the week. And if I can't send those to you electronically, we'll get you a copy in your mailbox for you. I'm excited about pushing those out. Other than that, you know, we're just plugging along. Unfortunately, I will give you this news. We just got Tyler Mitchell back from the academy 3 weeks ago. He's currently in FTO. He, sorry, have a head cold. So I know we shared the information with the all-employee meeting today, but Tyler and his wife had a baby last week. Baby's fine and everything, but they did find cancer in Tyler's wife, stage 4 stomach cancer. So they got a fight on their hands. And I just, I'm sharing that with everybody. We're throwing out all kinds of different ways to donate to them. He's in, like I said, his 3rd week of field training, which will probably take him 10 to 12 weeks to get through. But he's got a challenge on his hands with his family. This baby makes 3 kids for them. And and she's going to have a fight on her hands for a while. And we're just there, going to be there for them. And Vicky's going to put out some information. Billy's supposed to be getting hold of you. There's meal trains. There's GoFundMe. A GoFundMe set up. So there's different ways that people can donate. So just
Can you make
keep
sure
them
we get
encouraged.
that?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
right.
that's been heavy on our minds the last couple days.
Okay.
On a lighter note, your wife won the 5K
Yeah.
age division that I was in Saturday. Very upsetting to me personally, but
I'm sorry.
it's all right. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Thanks for not holding the grudge.
She's pretty spunky.
Little angry about the whole thing. Debbie Rush, right there at the top.
Yeah, she's and I don't know what it is with women in running, but I can say this because it's true. I'm not going to run hard. I'm just going to run. I'm just not going to run hard. Every race that she's ever ran, she runs as hard as she can. And every race before it, she's always, I'm not going to run hard today. I'm just going to feel it. But she's really good runner.
She wasn't even feeling it, Kate.
I know. That was not even her
Which,
best
what I'm
effort.
saying is she's a big liar.
Oh, she won it?
She won her age division, our
okay.
age division.
Oh,
She's a good
okay.
runner.
Yeah,
She's
she's very
fast.
good.
Oh,
She
I
qualified
knew
for
she
Boston
came
last
in
year.
Yeah, I think I knew that. I think
Came in.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I want to be like her someday.
Might see you guys running anywhere around the world. I mean, when you look on Facebook. So
Yeah, we just got back from Cabo. We ran
yeah,
Thursday.
I saw the photos on that when the
That's why
club
I'm
was
sick
out
now.
there.
Came back to the cold.
All right, thanks, Chief. On to fire.
I'm gonna ask Mr. Lawler to pull up the January fire report. He's gonna let me drive.
Right.
So again, I'm not gonna read the report in its entirety, I don't wanna insult anyone's intelligence, but just an overview of our report from January from the fire department. Typical month, if you wanna call it that, for the fire department. We had 189 EMS incidents and 98 fire incidents. 287 in total. And of the fires that we had, we lost approximately $62,000 in value, but the property was valued at $725,000. So less than 10%, which is pretty good concerning the properties that we cover. And just a comparison from 2018 to 2019, just to kind of get a look based on the stations. The blue is 2018 and the orange is 2019. Again, I mentioned as a typical January for us. We'll probably see some more increases here in February just due to the weather and some alarm data, and that'll come out in next month's report. Grand Park, we were actually down. We had more runs last 2018 we did in 2019 out to Grand Park. Again, we're not in the busy time of the year yet. We'll get there. March right around the corner, and that's where we start picking up out at Grand Park. It's really not a major influence to our responses, but we do see more traffic out there during the seasonal periods. A breakdown of those runs, and this is how we've classified them, for lack of a better terms. There's coding on our recording software that we classify these. So this is just a snapshot of, based on the percentages, where we fall, and a 60 to 70% medical versus the 30 to 40% fire is national average. So
What is the, I understand the other categories, what good intent includes what?
So a good
Wellness.
intent call would be an assist the public run, where maybe we go to Mrs. Smith's house, pick her up and help her get back in her chair, things like that.
Got it.
It's not necessarily a medical run, it's not necessarily a fire run, it's one of those things,
Like a cat in a tree.
like a cat in a tree.
Cat in a tree, yeah.
When these guys don't know what to do, they call us. Those kinds of things.
Sorry.
Yeah, works.
Problem solved.
The mayor, when we were putting this together last year, wanted to look at some alarms, residential versus commercial. And the breakdown, this is residential alarms that we're looking at. 3, 6, looks like 8 of them altogether during the month of January. Malfunction, unintentional, no fire, unintentional. Malfunctions, for the fire department, the malfunctions are the ones that we really want to get a handle on. And those are, residential isn't necessarily that big of a deal, but the commercial properties that we respond on, if there's a malfunction there, most of the time it is they're testing and they're not calling the communication center to let them know that they're testing. So that is on them as far as not holding up their end of the deal. So there was an ordinance put in place years ago. After so many repeated alarms, we're going to start passing out
Fee,
fines.
right.
So that's going to start coming down more frequently. The next few months, we went over our stuff with the folks. So this one is a look at the commercial properties. So here's a malfunction, 3, 6, 7, 8. We had 8 of those that were malfunctions just in the month of January. So
They weren't all the same place, were they?
they were not all the same place. I will say that we've had multiple runs to the same place in the month of January and in the month of February. And we've met with their management people on a few occasions and come to a clear understanding on what's going to take place. And we're working through those things. So this doesn't necessarily reflect all of those because this is just the month of January.
Right.
Here we are at the end of February. So, yeah. Care facilities, just a comparison from last year. Obviously, when it comes to the medical runs, our care facilities are our busiest customers. And you can see that we've had a spike at Kindred. Everybody else, relatively average when it comes to those facilities, but we like to throw this data in there just to keep an awareness of it. So anytime a project comes in, we can say, hey, this is definitely going to have an impact on what we do every day, and we've got the data to show that. But yeah, we've got one there that it looks like a glaring number, but it'll even out as the year goes along.
Is that because that facility is more populated than what it was? Is it, or is it just a spike?
Sickness out of control.
No, it's just a spike. It's
Okay.
one of those random things. Obviously, sometimes throughout the year, one facility is going to have more attendance than others, and it goes up and down from facility to facility. We would like to think that there's a number that can be associated with, oh, this facility has 100 beds, we're going to get there. This facility has 50 beds, we're not going to go there as often. That's not necessarily the case. A lot of it depends upon what each facility does. Obviously, more beds, more runs, depending on the clientele, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Some of these facilities are rehab facilities where visitors are there for a short period of time and they transition back out into their own home. So the run load there, not as much. So again, yeah, that's just a spike.
Okay.
I feel right now. Mutual aid runs, really, we can look at aid received and aid given. Pretty much it's same, right? We're receiving as much aid as we're passing out to other departments. So.
Very helpful.
Any questions?
Nope,
Thank you.
good stuff.
You're welcome.
Jeremy?
Well, aside from the grotesque amount of things I've already talked about, no, we don't have a whole lot going on. Winter weather is always here. It's coming again soon. And then we're battling potholes on a regular basis.
And there's a pothole line, is that right? Or is there a way to, there's a way to
There is,
submit your
yes.
pothole
Please
request?
utilize WeConnect and pass it on to all your friends and relatives, the school, everyone, so that they can use it. Obviously, we are waiting with in the wings, hoping that we get funding approval for Grand Junction, which will come up on here in March at the council meeting. That obviously changes the game for us a little bit. That's a big project. It'll require a great deal of resource and time for a couple years, probably close to 3 by the time it's all said and done. So
On the bridge over 32, the Mona
Mona?
32, are we recognizing the weather? Are we on time?
we are, in my opinion, far ahead of schedule.
No, that's great. Good news.
I would have guessed that just
Yes.
from all
The
the pylons being in and.
ICC at the beginning of winter said that they were, and this is like November, December timeframe, that they were intending to install all the pilings that they could and then effectively do what contractors do and go away for the winter. But they have been on site almost every single day. They're pouring foundations. They'll have concrete coming up above ground soon. So I fully expect them to be ahead of schedule. Originally, it was planning to open by the end of October. I think we'll do much better than that. So,
I think the warm, wet weather, makes it easier to drive, maybe
Sure.
easier to drive the beams in.
Sure.
It gives you an extended season anyway,
yeah.
for the lack of freezing, barring a few weeks this winter. But,
Well, and the thing is, they're really capitalizing on those times that aren't freezing. So concrete's the biggest issue. Additives aren't always the greatest thing, and that's the only way you can do it in the wintertime, which is why we elongated the construction of it. So we're pushing as hard as we can to get it open as quick as we can, and we're excited for it. So
it'll be,
one thing that you may or may not have noticed is that we had about $1 million worth of lighting go up on roundabouts and T intersections and other dangerous intersections. So they're all installed, and I would say 90% of them are illuminated. We've got a couple
waiting on Duke.
that we're still waiting on power.
I'm shocked.
I know. Flabbergasted.
Everybody is.
Other than that, if you have any other specific questions, I'm happy to.
Nope, you covered a lot.
Happy to.
Any other business?
Nope.
Lack thereof, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Me opposed? Me opposed? Me opposed? Me opposed? Me opposed?